I love bocce ball. Bocce ball keeps me enthralled. Throw Polina and watch it go. Where it stopped, nobody know. Bocce ball. Bocce ball. Bocce ball.
That's right, bocce ball. That's what we're talking about. Yes, there is a song for bocce ball because there's a song for everything. Look, the story here, and Jason just had this on the news again, this is getting kind of interesting. So we had a group of seniors yesterday out making noise in front of City Hall, talking about the fact that the area they used to play bocce, and by the way, from what I understand, about 450 residents or people live out in that part of the city, use the facility in Ahuntsic, Cartierville, not just to play bocce, but to do everything from play cards, just get together. And I guess the first part of the story that surprised me is the fact that the city has been spending a $200,000 a year to rent this building for them. That was number one. But they've been doing this for about 20 years. Linda Gyulai from the Montreal Gazette on this story. Hi, Linda.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I was just dancing a little bit.
Yeah, because boy, that bocce song really makes you dance, doesn't it? So look, let's try to provide some perspective here. 450 residents use this facility. As I said, not all to play bocce ball. It seemed like a ton of money to be renting this building, but why has it suddenly become an issue now?
Well, the borough of Ahuntsic, Cartierville has decided that it can no longer wants to pay for the rent. So they notified the members of the bocce club in August that they were no longer going to pay rent, and so they were going to be on their own as of December 31st. And they had some meetings. They protested their season, they're mid-season in December, so the borough offered to extend it to next July. So they have until July to either get sponsorships or work out some kind of deal with the bocce center owner. But yeah, basically they fear this is the end for them.
So they all got together, many of them got together. I saw them yesterday. Someone was out there playing an accordion, I guess, outside of City Hall. Trying to let the mayor know this is not acceptable. And I understand as well, Linda, am I correct from your story, that they have offered to pay from their own pockets for some of this, right?
That's it. They're basically saying we're 75 years and older, and most of us, and so, we're not like kids who can go out and sell cookies or chocolate bars or, we'll raise money. We'll raise what we can, and they think they can cover $30,000 of the rent because, they'll be able to raise some money between them, and that'll cover the maintenance costs that are part of the $211,000 annual rent. And they said the borough mayor, Emily Trier from Projet Montréal, was refusing to even negotiate. Apparently, no one's been able to speak to the owner of the center, but apparently the owner had an offer, 5-year offer, that the borough didn't want to negotiate. So it was dead letter until yesterday when there was a council meeting, and Ensemble Montréal, which is the opposition party, at City Hall, they were grilling the administration about the bocce file during the question period, and suddenly an Ahuntsic Cartierville councillor stood up and said, well, here's our proposal. And so the proposal is that Ahuntsic Cartierville will pay $60,000 of the rent. They'll take the $30,000 from the seniors, and then they want the two neighboring boroughs of Saint Laurent and Montreal North, which coincidentally are controlled by Ensemble Montréal, to pay an equal amount. So 60, 60, 60 for the three boroughs and 30 from the seniors. And so the two borough mayors from Ensemble Montréal came forward today and said, look, this isn't the way you negotiate. You don't just sort of drop it on us. That's, I guess, more style over function. But they say, look, we already offer bocce, at least in the case of Saint Laurent. It's unheard of for a borough to foot some other borough's service costs, because they each have a limited budget and they're paying for services for their own residents, local services, and so they're lobbying the bocce back onto the Projet Montréal court.
So we heard Alan D'Souza just in the top in the news. What did he say? They're throwing a Hail Mary bocce ball, trying to get the other boroughs to pay. I'm curious, though, there are people who live outside of Ahuntsic Cartierville using these facilities, though, right?
Well, that's what Projet Montréal's councillor, Ahuntsic Cartierville councillor, said yesterday. Alan D'Souza, Ensemble Montréal, and Alan D'Souza's response is, well, we don't know about this. I mean, we've been shown no numbers, so they're not sure where they get these numbers from. And Ellen D'Souza gave an example of, well, we have kids coming to play football, from other boroughs. Most of the kids come from other boroughs to play at a particular facility, and the borough pays for it, and they're not going to, refuse kids from other boroughs. It's just, so you don't put up border control at your, at your borough boundaries and prevent people from other boroughs from using your services. But the fact is that the service is offered on borough territory, so that borough pays for it. That's always been sort of the custom, I guess. So they're basically saying, the borough of Ahuntsic Cartierville chose to spend $200,000 a year rent on the Bocce Center. They've done so for 20 years. If they no longer want to do it, it's a mistake, according to Ensemble Real, but, they have to assume their mistake.
I can understand where people hearing this hear the figure of $200,000 and think, wow, that's an awful lot of money. And they've been spending this over the years. And these people probably should be paying some of that money on their own. And I think their argument, Linda, is the people affected here saying, hey, you help kids out in youth sports. Why would seniors not be helped? Is that part of the argument?
Yeah, there's arguments on both sides. One of the arguments of Ahuntsic Cartierville is that they're doing this essentially because they feel that the Bocce Center is sort of a single use. I mean, it does have community rooms, and there is a seniors club in there. But they're saying it's essentially a single use, and they're trying to spend their money. Mm-hmm. They've chosen now to spend their money on multi-use facilities that can accommodate multiple groups for multiple uses. So cards, bingo, dancing, what have you. A bocce facility is kind of a special kind of facility, or it requires, special, like a court, a bocce court. So it's not commonplace. And so that's their argument. There are arguments on both sides, but the upshot is that you have hundreds of seniors who have, been able to play bocce indoors, especially through the pandemic, for 20 years, and they're stuck because they're about to lose their space. Yeah. So I don't know what the elegant solution is, but apparently they didn't find it last night. So
we're basically at a Mexican standoff here, right? The city, at least Ahuntsic Cartierville, is like, we'll pay some of it as these other boroughs pay. And interestingly enough, as you said off the top, worth noting, Ahuntsic Cartierville, Projet Montréal, the other two boroughs, both Ensemble Montréal. So there's no great, interest on their part with helping the party in power. That's part of the issue here, too.
Yeah. So, watching the debate, just speaking as an observer, it's obviously a political football within council chambers. It's definitely, it's politics back and forth. But the upshot is that you have these seniors who are stuck. So I don't know. And they claim that, the seniors held a press conference last week, and they had the support of several Italian Canadian organizations as well. And none of them want to wade into the politics. So they're not supporting one party over the other. They're just basically crying out for help. So
here we are. Yeah, I was going to say, here we are in a Mexican standoff. We don't know how this is going to play out. If you had to guess, what do you think happens here?
It's 50-50. I mean, the city has a $6 billion budget, so
this is kind of chump change.
Of course, that set a precedent, because then you'll have other boroughs stepping up and saying, "Hey, look, I've got these needy kids who play a certain sport, and I need more money. Otherwise, I'm going to have to cut them off." It goes back to the whole financial situation of the city, which is, even though despite having a $6 billion budget, things always seem to be pretty tight when it comes to services.
Yeah, that's why I said, even though that amount seems large, $200,000, when you put it in perspective with a $6 billion budget, it's really not a whole lot of money, which, makes you wonder why this has become political, or how long this will stay this way before they reach some kind of a solution. Because I would imagine the city's not real big on being embarrassed on a regular basis by these people either, right?
And that's right. And then as for the rent, I don't know what's a reasonable rent on a bocce center. I haven't priced it, but, a pencil at the City of Montreal must cost a fortune.
There you go.
The city's used to paying, the borough was going to rent 2 rooms for this group, the seniors. They wouldn't be able to play bocce, but they were going to offer them the use of 2 other rooms. And the price of the 2 other rooms, one was a church basement, was $60,000, I think $60,000 for one room and $80,000 for the other room in a community center. So, in the city, the perspective of the city, these prices with lots of zeros, rent prices with zeros at the end of it, I guess that's not so astonishing, but anyway.
Well, there you go. So nothing yet. It's, I guess, a game of push and push back. We're going to have a Ref Salem on later on. I did want to hear this. I don't know if you heard this, Linda, from the CTV report yesterday. So two of the people out front of City Hall who were affected by this, these are great clips from two of the bocce players reacting to what's going on. And so, Jimmy, go ahead and play this.
Look at me, 91 years old, because of bocce. I'm strong like a bull. I couldn't marry again. I'm shaped because I'm bocce. No bocce, we die.
No bocce, we die. That's a rallying cry, Linda.
These people, I mean, I interviewed them. I've gone there twice, and they are there just about every day. And it's the thing, it really is a lifeline.
Yeah.
It's what keeps them active. They don't want to play bingo and cards like the Borough is offering them. They want to be physically active, and they want to play bocce. And apparently it's addictive. I haven't tried, but apparently it's addictive.
We shall see where it goes. Linda, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Linda Gyulai from the Montreal Gazette on Bocce Gate. We'll see how this one turns out, which way it goes.